Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name's Max and today I'm going to be doing a Q&A and also some drawing. I'm going to be illustrating my book while also answering questions that have been asked by you. I asked for questions and we got some. It's been a long time since I posted a proper full-length video, so hopefully we'll get more than 32 views this time. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So before we actually start with the questions today, I thought that I'd just tell you what I'm doing so that you understand. This is an illustration from my novel, and I've already done it before, but I'm redoing it because I wasn't happy with it. And of course the camera's going to be misbehaving a bit. I don't know why it likes to slide around like that, but it's been doing that for ages, just because my camera stand's old or whatever. So our first question of the day is, how is your book coming along? And it's done, so I've finished writing it, but now I have to edit it and illustrate it. So I'm illustrating it, as you can see here, in this style, which will become apparent, further on in the video. And in terms of editing, I'm nearly done with, the big edits, and then I just have to go through and change, word choice and spelling errors and grammar and stuff like that. So it's basically done in that case, and I'm aiming to have it published by the 1st of September or something like that. In terms of numbers, it's sitting at about 100,000 words at the moment with 380 something pages, I'm pretty sure. Okay, the next question is, who is your favourite celebrity? And I don't think the person who asked this was, intending for this answer, but my favourite celebrity is actually David Attenborough, because he's such a G. I just think he's really cool, and it's just kind of gobsmacking that he's 90 odd and he's still making these shows and to a really high standard and doing his audio voiceover thingies. Yeah, he's just a bit of a hero, to be honest. So he is my favorite celebrity, but I'm assuming they meant mainstream celebrity that Americans would know about. So in that case, my favorite singer, I guess, is Melanie Martinez. I've done fan art of her on my channel before that you might have seen. I also quite like Billie Eilish, although I'm not really a big fan of the latest album. I think it's good, but it's just not really my genre, but it's still good. But in terms of my favorite celebrity in terms of art, which you might be interested in because this is an art channel, my favorite artist ever is Frida Kahlo, the surrealist artist. But my favorite artist who is alive at the moment that modern people might know about is Caitlin Page, and she's on Instagram and she's really cool, and she's a really big inspiration of mine in terms of surrealist portraiture, and so is Frida Kahlo, to be fair. And the next question is another book related question. What genre is your book? And it's a fantasy book, but it's not high fantasy, there's no elves or dragons. It's about witches and sort of magic, but magic isn't really a big feature in it because the main character can't really use magic. But it's more of a sort of supernatural fantasy than anything. And it's got elements of romance in it as well, but mainly it's just a story about friendship and found family and self-worth and things like that. The next question is, what other books inspire you? And to be fair, they're not really, the inspiration doesn't really reflect that much in my book. You wouldn't know if you read it that these were the books that inspired me about it. But there's this book called The Binding. I don't think it's a particularly well-known one, but it's sort of a similar level of fantasy, as in it's not really fantasy and it's more of just a low-level magic exists in it type thing. And I thought the way the relationships worked in that and the sort of internal conflict of the characters was really interesting, and that's actually one of my favourite books of ever. The main takeaways I get from other books, though, isn't really the kind of plot points or the character development or anything. It is more the kind of language used, because my book is set in the 1500s, and so I like to read books that are also set in that time period so I can use similar vocabulary and language that they would be using at that time. An example of that would be Dissolution by C.J. Sansom that I read sort of recently. So a way that influenced how I wrote my book is obviously, I mean, back in the day they had like swear words and stuff, but they didn't really have the same kind of weight because they weren't really swear words, they were just sort of words. And so instead of swearing, they said stuff like God's wounds and God's blood, and it's like that's how they spoke. And so I incorporated that in my story. They don't have like, their religion isn't about God, but I'd like be like Amina's wounds, because that's what their god's called. So that's one like example of how another book influenced how I wrote my book. The next question is, how do you plan your story ideas? And I do it a little bit differently to how I've seen other people on YouTube doing it. So if you're like any kind of writer who watches YouTube, you've probably seen the whole like, this is how you plot your book sort of thing, with like the table and the detailed sitting down and doing it all at once. I don't really do it like that. I just have it on my, like I have a note on the notes app on my phone, because I've always got my phone with me. So if I ever think of like an idea of something that's going to happen in my book, I can just write it down like whenever I am. And that could happen like at night or when I'm out somewhere, as if I go out places. Another thing that I don't know if it really counts as planning ideas, but I make Pinterest boards of all my characters and of like settings in the story. So sometimes I'll just come across a picture of a place and I'll think, oh, that's really cool. It would be cool if something happened in a place like that in my book. And the last question of the day is, where do you get your art supplies, and is there like any that you would recommend? So I don't really get art supplies anymore, just because like since I did art at school, I kind of just took stuff from school to use, because I wasn't really doing much art for fun and it was all mainly stuff for school. But before I took art as a GCSE subject, I'd basically just get stuff from The Works, and I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like kind of more of a stationery shop than an art shop, I don't know. But you can get loads of different stuff there, and it's all kind of relatively cheap. So still, whenever I need like sketchbook paper or like acrylic paint, then I'll get it from there. In terms of brands, I really like Winsor & Newton for inks, and I like Derwent for watercolour pencils, which is sort of my main medium at the moment. And that is all of the questions. Thank you for watching the video. I hope that you feel enriched with knowledge after all of that. This is the like final drawings that I did for my book. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.